I'll come closer. Jeff. Oh. Okay. Okay. Hello, Summer.
Hello, how are you, Mitz? So nice to see
Very
you.
good.
My daughter, Natasha.
Oh, thank you so much. All
Oh,
right,
gosh.
let's have our conversation tonight. But first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Mitz Lee, co-founder and board chair for the Asian American Coalition, also known as APAC. Before we proceed with our program, let us have a moment of silence for those who have died during the pandemic. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. On behalf of APAC, we express our deep appreciation of you joining tonight to come together, celebrate Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, share our struggles, and many accomplishments. With us tonight are several of our elected officials, Congressman Scott Peters, County Supervisor Chairman Nathan Fletcher sent apologies for not able to join us tonight. Supervisor Tara Lawson Reamer, District Attorney Summer Stefan, Mayor Todd Gloria, Council Member Chris Kate. We are also joined by many of our API community leaders and community members. While there has been many attention on recent attacks against the APIs, there are also many positive and encouraging accomplishments coming from this resilient community. This town hall served as a platform to discuss the state of Asian and Pacific American Islander community today. This is also an opportunity for us as a community and our elected officials to have a conversation on what we have to look forward to and underscore our many accomplishments while recognizing the many challenges our community is facing today. So there is much to do. Let me introduce our moderators. Chris Chan, Director of Communications, San Diego City Council. Alex Nguyen, APAC Board Member. Chris?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor to be able to speak here before you and be a part of this wonderful celebration and gathering of elected officials, as well as so many leaders and members of the Asian and Pacific Islander American community. I just want to remind everybody that tonight's proceedings, the town hall, is going to be recorded. So if you're going to say things, remember it's going to be online forever. So just wanted to get that out there, and it will be broadcast for the benefit of folks on Facebook, and just to give everybody who is not able to come here and take part to see and hear and share with us in this wonderful gathering. Right now, I want to introduce Mayor Todd Gloria, our first San Diego mayor of Asian descent. Many other things, but for the purposes of tonight's gathering of Asian descent, Todd, take it away, please.
Chris, thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. It's really an honor to join you this evening. I feel like we've been together so many times already to celebrate API Heritage Month. It's the only 6th day of the month, so this is good. There'll be many more opportunities to come together, because I think we all know this year, more than most, we do need to come together to support one another. But is also to project what we are, which is an integral part of this city to the rest of our community. Thank you to APAC for hosting this, and forgive me, I get to do quite a few other Zooms tonight, so I'll be relatively brief in my time here with you, but it was important to be here, not just, as Chris mentioned, the first person of Filipino ancestry to lead our city as mayor, but as the mayor, right, at a time when our community is hurting, take out the personal component of this. I think it's important for you to know that your mayor knows that these issues are going on, cares deeply about it, and is working with partners like Congressman Peters, Councilmember Kate, DA Stefan, and our police department to address them. But I think it's also important to have that first part, which is that it is deeply personal. This kind of hate is not new. It may be elevated. We may have hashtags for it, but this has long been prevalent in our community and our country. And I often share the story of my grandfather who came from the Philippines, his experiences of being denied the opportunity to buy property in San Diego because of his race, because he never felt respected by other people in the community and could only wear a suit in order to try and project his need or his worthiness of respect. While that may have been 2 generations ago, it is still the experience of some in our community, and it is wrong, and we must change it. What I want to do is just leave with a message of some inspiration, because I think during dark times, we can sometimes fall further down the rabbit hole, if you will. And what we need to do is really center ourselves in the fact that there would not be a San Diego if it was not for our API community. And Chris mentioned, my ancestry is from all around the globe. They've been coming here for over 100 years. And so we have been literally present for the building of this community. And for anyone who has not read Tom Hom's book, you will know that we have long had a very proud API community that literally helped build the Gaslit, something that we are famous for. I was said the other day to a group of API community leaders, you cannot make San Diego without Paradise Hills, Mira Mesa, Kearney Mesa, Linda Vista, City Heights. We are in so many of these communities. They are culturally identified with us. And as a consequence, let us remind ourselves of how important we are to the broader community. And we have to project that out at this time. Lastly, I would just say that as we navigate this time, please know that the city is marshaling resources to respond to the hate that we're seeing across the country with some incidents that are here. Councilmember Kate and I joined the San Diego Police Department to walk door to door in the Convoy District to educate business owners about what a hate crime is, what a hate incident is, how to report that. And my sincere offer this evening to all of you is that if anything this recent experience has illustrated, is that we have a lot of work to do, not just to educate the community, to empower the community, to report what is happening, but also to make that process a lot more modern. And what I mean by that is that so much of what Chris and I were passing out was paper. A lot of it was telephone numbers. It's 2021. We should be able to do this through some of our city's technology. We should have it in every language that's appropriate. We have a lot of work that could be done. I recently announced the creation of a mayoral API community advisory board. I think this board will be an input point to allow us to take in the ways that we can do process improvement. Let's not take this opportunity and miss the opportunity to improve upon these processes as we work together, not just to tap down the hate, violence, and discrimination that we're seeing, but to, again, to empower our community to step forward. And that's probably the very last thing, Chris, if I can throw it back to you, because again, I understand there may be a couple of questions I'm happy to answer. But for anyone who has experienced this, I really want to encourage you to step forward. I recognize that there's fear, that there can be shame, and that there can be any number of other reasons why people would not come forward to report something that happens to them. But as some of you have already heard me say a couple of times, if you don't report what happens to you, it is extremely likely that the perpetrator will do it to somebody else. And what they may do to them may be worse than what has happened to you. So don't think about it in personal terms. Think about it in a collective term. Your stepping forward and being brave may prevent other actions from happening. So I ask you to think about that and know that you can reach out to Councilmember Kate. I see Rudy Tyus here from San Diego Police Department. You can certainly reach out to the mayor's office. We are here to support this community now more than ever. And again, remind everyone across the city, there's not an America's finest city without our API community. And I thank all of you. These so many faces that I see, the Mitz Lees and Natasha Wongs and Sally Wongs, Abraham Toast, so many people who contribute to this. I appreciate what you do. And we can celebrate this year with more purpose than ever. Chris, may I toss it back to you? And again, I'm happy to answer any questions if that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Or to Mitz Lee, of course, to Mitz. What am I thinking? It would not be an API event if it wasn't Mitz Lee.
We have a special guest tonight, Tom Hom. So I would like
do.
you to be able to introduce Tom and say and ask him to if he can share with us wisdom.
Yes.
What we need at this moment.
I knew this was my last duty to do, so I'm happy to defer the time to our trailblazer. You know, Tom is a very humble man, and a couple of times he said, you don't have to talk about all that because he is humble, but there would be no Mitz Lee, there would be no Todd Gloria, there would be no Chris Kate if there wasn't for Tom Hom. And Tom, I will spare you the embarrassment of heaping all the praise on you that you deserve, but please know that you truly deserve it. And it's your experiences and your history and all of what you've seen in your life that will help this community get through this difficult time. So with no further ado, our trailblazer, our council member, our state legislator, Tom Hom, everybody.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Todd. You know, many people that I grew up with, but particularly my father, when I was 12 years old, he took me to City Hall. He went there to renew his business license. While in City Hall, he said to me, he said, Tom, in America, the kind of people that they put in here is dependent on who the people would vote for to put in here. And so that kind of piqued my interest that, gee, I would like to be part of that. So I was 12 years old, but anyway, when I got to be 30 years old, that's what I wanted to do. And so anyways, I ran for public office and I did win. That was 58 years ago. So I was the first minority in the history elected to the position at that time. And since then, every election, everybody in the city council they have a minority there. So you know, I'm proud to have been part of that. Of course, I'm 98 now. I know I'm 94 now, and so I've seen new people come up like you and many others taking their place. When I went to the state legislature, there was only one other Asian there, March Fong, and she was just there for a year before I got there. So anyway, there are a lot of Asian Americans there now from all different types. So, you know, we began from these different beginnings. So I'm just proud to be part of it. And Todd, I think you're laying the ground floor for a position of Asian American head of a great city. So I just want to acknowledge that you're doing great and you will continue to be great in that position. So anyway, I'm just proud to be here to be part of it. And thank you to everybody that have helped me. There are people that came out of the woodwork when I decided to run. There are people all different backgrounds, and there are good people, all kinds. And so I just want to share just these few moments with you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hom, for your great leadership and your example and courage to really blaze a trail for so many of us. I know, Mayor Gloria, that you have to get going pretty soon, but wanted to pose a quick question that was talked about today. Your team today announced there was a lot of concern about the budget especially for the library too. And if you want to talk a little bit about that, the announcement today, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So we're in the earlier part of the budget development process, and shout out to Chris Kate, who is the chair of our budget committee. He is awaiting the arrival of his third child, yet he's doing day-long budget hearings. God bless that guy. So basically, let me boil down to this. We recommended in my budget introduction a roughly $6 million reduction to our library hours. Some of you may know we have a structural budget deficit at the city, meaning we spend more than we take in. This reduction was a means of trying to optimize our library department to try and balance our budget. Chris, San Diegans are doing a very effective job of helping to get our economy reopened. And so we're starting to see some promising upticks in our revenue that will allow us to bridge that $6 million gap. Council's been very clear they want that cut restored. And so I think we can reasonably restore those over a phased period of time. So stay tuned for our May revise, which will come out in a few weeks. But I believe that we can, working with the council, and with the improved economic picture. By the way, shout out to Congressman Scott Peters for getting us the relief funding from the federal government that's allowing us to avoid much deeper cuts to our library system. But point is, our financial picture is improving. I think we can restore that. And the way that we can guarantee that, everybody, is if you get vaccinated. Let me just be very, very clear. We have to defeat COVID-19. We have to get folks comfortable about traveling again. If they start coming to San Diego, paying that tourist tax, we'll be able to not only restore library hours, but actually to increase library hours.
Mayor Gloria, thank you very much. Alex?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that issue because of the budgeting issue is that I'd like to point out that a lot of the libraries are being used in especially in City Heights and other API and minority communities as a way for students to be able to access a lot of, distant learning materials. So without those library hours, they are further being left behind. And also because of the budget cuts from the last time that San Diego's had a budget crisis, I believe about 10 years ago, library hours were cut and they were slowly restored, but not to the point where they were 10 years ago. So this further cuts of the library hours is really impacting the education of the lower income community. And while we're on that topic, multicultural and multilingual communities here in San Diego, what we need is the access to resources to hold cultural events, which are key to sustaining our celebration and diversity. And we have lots of cultural events here in San Diego because we're such a diverse community, such as the Lunar New Year Festival in downtown in Mira Mesa, PIFA, the Asian Cultural Festival, etc. And the community wants to know that what can the county or the city can do to help those events organizers get back on their feet after 2020 because nothing was happening. So a lot of events organizers could not host their events and could not get the funding for that. And some of the proposals that have come up by APAC board members is that the county could or should make the grants available to the events organizers or reduce fees or waivers or waive those fees that are necessary for us to put on those events, such as a special events fee that is by the city. So I'd like to point that over to Tara, who is the supervisor for District 3, which is encompassing Mira Mesa and API District in San Diego, District 6. And then I would like to invite Mayor Gloria to add to that if he's able, because I know we're at time for
Yeah. So he has to go.
If we can just invert very quickly, I will just say,
Sure
Congressman Peters and I announced God, Scott, I can't even remember, was that yesterday or the day before, this week, a $12 million relief fund with $2 million of those dollars reserved for arts and culture organizations and roughly $4 million of it reserved for BIPOC community groups to apply for. This is a part of my budget proposal. These would be dollars that could go to a Pacific Arts Movement, it could go to Vietnamese Federation and others. So those dollars are there for that purpose to help sort of defray some of the losses from the last fiscal year. In terms of police fees, which I know is a concern for some of the groups, that's going to take a lengthier process. And I'll just point out, guys, if we're going to restore library hours, $6 million, but reduce police fees, which is our revenue, we're exacerbating a problem. So we're going to have to prioritize here, right? But I've heard the concern for these groups, at least on a temporary basis. And again, thank you to Scott Peters. We have that $12 million fund. Those dollars hopefully will be approved by the city council. They'd be available July 1 of this year.
Thank you.
Excuse me, guys, but I'll leave you in Chris Cate's good hands. He knows the city just as good as I do.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Lawson Reamer, I wanted to thank you, Mayor Gloria. Supervisor Lawson Reamer, I wanted to see if you could address some of the concerns we have. And first of all, thank you for joining us. But if you could address some of the questions about festivals and from a county health standpoint as well and access to resources.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, let me just start by saying it's really an honor to be here. And I think this is just such an important event for the community, and I very much look forward to this being in person next year. So virtual now, in person next year, and I think that's true with so many things. So thank you very much for including me, and for allowing me to be able to be a partner and a champion for the AAPI community here in San Diego. So I think a couple things I wanted to let folks know is happening. So one thing that I think would be of interest is, I don't know how many people have followed what's going on with the Mira Mesa Epicenter, but it's been a project, a community center that's been stalled for a really, really long time, and that rightly should be a place for arts, for culture, for youth, and it has been a project that's been under design and in people's imaginations, but hasn't been any funding for it. So I've put forward a request for the next budget to include funding for the epicenter in Mira Mesa. So that is something I'm really excited about. And if people want to support that, it would be hugely helpful to write in, to call in to the board meetings over the next couple of weeks to voice your support, because the budget is being debated right now and is going to be decided on July 1st. And currently that's not in the budget. It was not in the original draft budget, but it's a request I had put in initially, and is a request I've reiterated. And so if this is important to folks, building out Epicenter as a real place for the community and a place to support arts and youth, it would be great to have support, because there could be, at least a few $1 million, if not more, of county funds available for that project. And so that's something that's very much on my radar, and something I've been working on with my team. So I think that's, to me, one of the things that's top of the list. I think zooming out, big picture, we have a budget coming. We just, the draft just came out today, and there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of it's for COVID, related testing and tracing and contact tracing and expenses that have incurred that we haven't been able to pay over the last year. But there's also, a lot of additional resources in there for other things that we care about in our community. And I have put in another request, again, that's still not in the budget, but to support folks who are seeking to immigrate to this country. And so that's another piece that's in my budget. So if that's something of interest, it would be very helpful to have advocacy around. Other things in the budget, rental assistance, there's $107 million of rental assistance. Currently, only 28 million has been applied for. So if people are, needing rental assistance, there is absolutely a massive pot of rental assistance available. And this is available if you're a landlord as well as a tenant. So if you're the tenant, you can apply, but also if you're the landlord and your tenant isn't paying rent. So landlords can apply, tenants can apply, and that money is really there to, to stabilize any kind of loss of income to either tenants or landlords during the pandemic. So that's a really big, important pot of money that people in the community need to be aware about, because right now I hear in community groups a lot of concerns about rent, but we have a massive amount of rental assistance available that people are not applying for. So I want to put that on people's radars, make sure you know about it, you tell your friends, apply for this rental assistance, because we can't give it away if people don't tell us they need it. So that's another thing. There's so much going on with the budget, and obviously with a new board. Another issue that I think is really important is we're doing a bunch of advocacy in our budget process for expanded language translation for all of our county service programs. Right now, we don't have uniform standards around language or accessibility at all. So some programs, there's materials only in English. Other programs, it'll be, English and Spanish. Some programs will be like miscellaneously like English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, but there's no standard about, what gets translated. So really focusing on those translation services and expanding access to make sure everyone is able to, be able to be a participant in our community is something that I'm working really hard on and is a big priority. And that's part of our budget that we've put forward, and we're advocating and hoping that gets included in the final budget. So there's a lot more I could talk about, but I feel like I could just talk at you guys for an hour, and that's pretty boring. So let me just stop there and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, Supervisor Lawson-Remer, I know you've got to get going, but I wanted to get include one of our community leaders in here who had a question for you. Kieran Makapugai, she's the California Commissioner of API Affairs. Kieran, go ahead with your question.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Supervisor. I actually just saw in the chat a question about how we look at budgets and resources that our taxpayers, frankly, are funding and paying for. So, Supervisor Tara, there's so much conversation around what can we do to look at crises and different ways to respond when the community is in need, when safety is jeopardized, and really when our own personal issues may require some kind of assistance, emergency assistance, law enforcement, whatever it is. My question to you is, as the County of San Diego Health and Human Services purveyor, I understand that there is a mobile crisis team pilot in North County. Would you be able to share a little bit about that and what the plans are to hopefully expand to Central and South Bay, where there is dire need for crisis response?
So great news. Nathan and I brought forward an action last month to do exactly that. So we're expanding the pilot over the next year to all of San Diego County. So I am incredibly excited about that. So, anyone who doesn't think elections matter, right? Because I want to give credit where credit's due. This was Supervisor Fletcher's idea, but he didn't have the votes. And so I've been working with Supervisor Fletcher over the last many months. I told him that this was one of my campaign pledges and one of my campaign promises to expand it countywide. And the pilot in North County, it wasn't just geographically limited. It was also only 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and you had to call a special number. So what we're doing is sort of threefold. One is we're expanding it countywide. Second, we're making it 24/7. And third, and this third part is going to take a couple years. It's not going to happen overnight. I think it'll take about 3 years to implement because there's a lot of negotiation with other police departments, but that's integrating it into 911. So when you call 911, it's the same number, and that's where you would access the mobile crisis response team. So this is a massive priority for me. It's something our team has been working on since day one. And honestly, I'm just really excited that it hasn't been implemented because we still have to now stand up the program, but we did allocate the budget and we did pass the policy. So over the next year, we're going to be rolling that out countywide, which is a great victory. I want to answer another question about, county funds and how we think about, how we use county funds. So such an important question, something really close to my heart. I think most people here know I'm an academic by training. I'm an attorney and an economist. So I've spent my fair share of time doing actual research on what works and what doesn't work to create social change in our communities. And that's a really important question. So we make sure that we're really making the impact that we think that we are making and that we're using our tax dollars to be as effective as possible. So one of my other big initiatives for this budget cycle is we're standing up a new office of evidence and evaluation. We're hiring a chief evaluation officer. We're hiring researchers across all the departments in the county so that we can actually evaluate using data what programs are effective and what programs are not effective, so that over time, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over time, over a couple years or maybe a decade, we will be able to assess what's working, what's not working, and we can learn from setbacks and scale up successes. So I'm very much pushing a new culture at the county, like a culture of failing forward. It says it's okay to fail as long as we learn from those failures and not hide them under the rug. We don't need to pretend that we have successes when it's actually a bad program. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the facts. We say, okay, this one's not working. Let's move on. Let's try a different program. Let's try a different approach, because what matters at the end of the day is not sounding good. It's not the sound bites on TV. What matters is delivering for our community. And so that's really what we're focusing on, is this evidence-based policymaking revolution, which honestly, I think most people think is so boring, but I think is so vital, because whether we're actually able to deliver the meaningful change that so many people are desperately relying on depends on whether our programs are effective or not. And so that's one of the things that I'm laser focused on in the first couple years, is getting that stood up.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Lawson-Remer. Thank you for being here on this special occasion for as we celebrate Asia Pacific American Heritage Month. I want to take a brief moment to just make sure that we acknowledge and thank our other special guests for being here. Congressman Scott Peters, our representative for the 52nd district. Thank you so much for being here. Also, Chris Cate, District 6 Council Member Chris Cate, and District Attorney Summer Stephan. We'll go ahead and start with Congressman Peters. Thank you very much for being here. If you want to say a few words, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's quite an honor to be with you all. Todd Gloria, Chris Cate. And when I started out, it was Tom Hom, who had already graduated from the City Council, Tom Fatt, who we miss quite a bit, and Mitz Lee. And all great teachers to me. And I have to tell you that I'm a member of the Congressional Pacific Asian Caucus. And often when I walk into the meeting, people don't quite know why I'm there. But because I don't appear to be Korean or Chinese American. But it turns out that our district is 25% AAPI, which might surprise you till you look around. And it's not just Mira Mesa, which people have mentioned, but it's Carmel Valley, Rancho Penasquitos, Sabre Springs. There are so many Asian Americans working in San Diego, making great contributions in science, in education, in business. And I'm just so proud to be a representative of this community in the United States Congress. We've had a difficult time with anti-Asian hate. We had what I thought was a very moving town hall with leaders and advocates from the APAC community on March 23rd. I heard some stories about the incidents related to COVID-19 and the discrimination that existed well before the beginning of the pandemic. I'm sponsoring the Grace Meng's Hate Crimes Act. And I think we'll get that passed. But I want to say, and I think that's important, and we should change the laws, but we really need to change hearts. And one of the things I want to make sure that I'm pointing out as elected official is that we are so proud of these Americans who are doing such great things here. And they are Americans. And we're too, sometimes we're too hard on what we consider the other. But the people in this community, the AIP community, are wonderful contributors to the American society. They make our city better, they make our region better, our state better, and our country better. I can't be prouder of the work that you are all doing and the contribution you make to our country. And you know I have you on, that I'm on your side. And just very, very grateful. So I want to wish you a wonderful Asian American Heritage Month, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but just know I brag about you all the time in Washington, D.C., and it's wonderful to be with you, even virtually. Looking forward to seeing you all in person, particularly at the night market, which Mitz Lee is going to remind me of when it comes up.
Next year.
Next year, okay, next year.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Congressman Peters. District Attorney Summer Stephan, I invite you to go ahead and say a few words, please.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you, Mitz Lee, for putting this great event together, and it's terrific to be with everybody. I feel like I'm at a reunion of friends. As you all know, the API community has been in our hearts and is a part of my family, our 3 kids. As you know, with your help, my husband, Judge Dana Makoto Sobral, was the first appointment to the federal bench here in San Diego County, and you all rallied around him, and the Honorable Tom Hom came in with his powerhouse and Mitz and everybody that is here that's been part of our life. And as you know, diversity and inclusion matters. As you know, the history of the Japanese internment was a big part of his ruling, ending the family separations and reunifying 2,000 plus children with their families that still continues, and he has monthly reviews about it. So being here is not just me as the DA. I'm actually feel emotional about it because it's very personal, and the hate crimes that we are seeing around the country against Americans that have with sweat, blood, and tears built this country and contributed in amazing ways and here in San Diego. So as your district attorney, I was not going to put up with it. We immediately took action, and that was last April, as soon as we saw the first rise of hate crimes. With Leonard Trin, who was part of our API community, I appointed him as our leader of hate crimes, and he now leads the Anti-Hate Crime Coalition. We set up an online reporting, the first in the nation. It was covered nationally as a model that should be copied, because there are barriers to reporting, and one of them is that people don't know if it is a hate crime that should be reported. So it is one of the most underreported crimes. As Mayor Gloria said, it also is one that must be reported. And because if it's not reported, then the bullies will continue to bully. The only way they stop is if we stop them. And so we didn't want people to think that they should fear occupying 911. We wanted to give them another tool. And in just some short months, we're up to 123 reports. Each one of them gets a call back. We walk them through the system in the language that they're comfortable with to make sure that if it's a crime, we refer it as a crime. If it's an incident, we log it with our FBI and other partners because we want to prevent violence from happening. And there's at least one incident where we clearly prevented violence by taking just a simple hate comment and researching, unveiling the curtain, looking at open source intelligence and addressing it. We've tripled our hate crimes prosecution rate because people have to know that we mean business, or else the community can't be safe. You only need to turn on the television to see how in other regions, the API community is begging their prosecutor to prosecute. They're asking for accountability so this doesn't continue. And here in San Diego, I can assure you that my team stands ready to make sure that every report is taken seriously and that we bring accountability. Like Congressman Peters said, we have to change hearts. We have to make sure that our children understand that this is part of our school system to bring respect, to bring diversity. And I know that Sally Wong Avery still runs the iconic school to make sure that culture and language are still part of something that we admire here in San Diego. So I'm really proud to be with you. You can go online to SanDiegoDA.com and find that tool under helping victims. You can report by email, you can report by phone, you can report by the online reporting where we merge it with law enforcement. We discuss what needs to happen and we take action. So I'm here for you, and you're part of my family, and we will stand with you in every way we can.
Thank you so much, District Attorney Stefan. We really appreciate all your work for the county and our AAPI community. And last but not least, we go to the council member who has on his probably 10th hour of Zoom today, and also represents the district with arguably where you could find the best food in San Diego County. Chris Kate, go ahead, take it away, Councilmember Kate.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mitz, for organizing this. And this is MJ. Sorry, I have a 9-month pregnant wife and 2 under 2. So we're sharing duties right now. But I just want to thank everyone who's on here, including our elected officials who have been amazing, amazing partners, not only over this last few months, but through the duration of my time on the council, whether it's Congressman Peters, who we share our district, or then Assemblymember Gloria, now Mayor Gloria, our district attorney, and Supervisor Lawson Reamer. They have been absolutely amazing in trying to represent this community to the best of our abilities and ensure that our community, our Asian Pacific American Islander community, is one that is well represented at all levels of government. Just to put into some perspective on this, Supervisor Lawson Reamer, she deserves some major shout out, because one of the first things that she did was called our office and figured out, how do we team up? How do we figure out a way to get things going, especially at the epicenter, which is, something that's, albeit the city of San Diego has really not done its best at. And because of her efforts and the ability of Mayor Gloria and what he's doing now, we're on the cusp of doing some great things there. And it's exciting to have that well-rounded inertia that's coming through and helping move this project along. So I couldn't not give her a shout out and kudos with her being on here, and thanking her for what she has done, including Summer Steffen and what we've done with the police department and what we're trying to accomplish with our walks. Obviously, Captain Rudy Tai, Lieutenant Ambito, Chief Nizlight. I mean, the amount of the positivity that we have received when we were doing our walks, really the joy from our Asian business owners and knowing that they are represented at the police department is something to be really admired, and we actually was really proud to see. I will say, and Mayor Gloria touched on this, the access to funds for our Asian-owned businesses is extremely important. Last year, when we were giving out $18 million to our small businesses, I made it be known that we had to give an allocation to our minority business owners. And so we worked with the Strategic Alliance, our Asian Business Association, the Black Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, to ensure that these minority business owners had the ability to get technical assistance and have access to those funds. And so I know that with this next allocation of funds, we're going to ensure that our minority business owners, including our Asian business owners, know that those funds are available to them and that they have access to get to that point where they have the funds to how their business survives. So shout out to ABA and what they're doing, free of charge to Asian-owned businesses to ensure that they get the help that they need. Last but not least, I'm not going to put Mitz Lee on the spot. And don't, Mitz, this is not lobbying, so please don't count it as that. Mitz is on the Redistricting Commission. This is hugely important. I would not be here in this seat if it weren't for the last Redistricting Commission back in 2011. And so we all need to make sure that we build upon what happened in 2011, primarily with District 6. There is an opportunity to increase the amount of API voters in this district when the commission meets and here's the new maps once we get that data from the census data comes back to us. So I know APAC was extremely involved. I know they will be extremely involved this go around, but we all have to make sure our voices are heard, and we are advocating for a larger concentration of Asian voters within District 6. It can be done. It needs to be done. And not to put pressure on Mitz, but I know where her heart is, but we need to make sure that happens this go around. So I encourage everyone to stay involved in that. And with that, I'm going to mute myself now. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Councilmember Kate. And I see Luis is on here, so I appreciate that you didn't put babysitting duty on him today. All right, and you know what? Coming up next is Dr. Lily Chen. I would like to introduce her and ask her to speak on behalf of the community on the issue of public safety, because I know that's something she is passionate about. So here's Dr. Lily Chen with the Confucius Institute.
Yeah. Thank you all. I am so heartened to hear all the people here talking about us as a team working together. And that, to me, that is the only way to go. We are all in this together. I want to stress the importance of safety and security for everybody and for our senior citizens. I also want to stress the fact that San Diego City Police, County Sheriff's Office, the DA's office have responded timely to the recent I would call it burglary and vandalism to the jewel in downtown San Diego, which is the San Diego Chinese Historical Museum. 36 hours ago, another vandalism took place targeted toward the building, the mission building where Tom Hom was born, the location. So it is happening, and I stress the fact that we need our security, we need our safety, our seniors need safety. We are all interested in making sure that multilingual, multicultural services are provided and that we get immediate response. And listening to all of you, we feel very, very heartened, but at the same time, we should speak out when things like this happen. And so you're hearing not only me, but I'm speaking for Sally, for Natasha, for Tom Hom, for all those who worked before me with the Historical Society and Museum, and we treasure what we have. It has been now a target in downtown San Diego for different kinds of incidents and crimes. Whether it is racially motivated or not, we don't always know, but we really want to urge everyone here to work together. Our police departments responded to us very quickly. We want to thank them. We support our law enforcement officers. We know that you work very, very hard for us, but still we want to not say it is just for us. It is for everybody, everybody. And we don't want to be dominated by fear. We want to be able to walk in our downtown area, open the door of the museum for everybody. But at the moment, we have been assaulted quite a few times. And this is something that we do worry about. And so I just want to voice this part about safety, security, and we really need to work together some more. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chang, and I apologize. Her actual title is Director of the Chinese Cultural Center at SDSU, and also of the Confucius Institute. And while we're on the subject matter of safety and policing, there is a question from the community member asking about the increase in police funding at the city of San Diego. And I would like to invite Chris Kate to talk about that and explain why that is, so that we can have more transparency in why there was an increase in police funding this year. And I don't know if he's still on the call or not. Oh,
yeah,
there he is.
Sorry, I was out there trying to walk with him, so I apologize. Can you repeat the question? My apologies.
No worries. There's a question from a community member asking about the $19 million in increase in police funding, and that person would like to get a more clear answer on why the city council felt that was necessary to increase the police funding by $19 million and have a bit more transparency on why that is.
Yeah, so part of the budget obviously is taken on personnel expenses and what we call non-personnel expenses. Part of the non-personnel expenses are labor costs, including what are called our pension costs, essentially. And our pension bill has gone up. And so every department has seen an increase in their pension costs. So as part of that, not adding any new positions or anything, thereby increases the cost of labor and benefits. And so when you have a city that has 11,000 employees, a large portion of our budget are people, and the benefit costs that are associated with that. So those increases are associated with those costs associated with pensions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Councilmember Kate. We're running a little bit short on time now, but I wanted to make sure that we kind of look forward here and talk about, we've had so much difficult, but it seems like with vaccinations moving forward and the pandemic, the cases being tamped down a little bit, we have our eyes on recovery, and many times we're looking to the programs coming out of the federal government. So I would like to ask Representative Peters to talk a little bit about some of the things that are available for some of the resources that might be available for small businesses and the other citizens of San Diego County.
I think I can speak for him. This is Anthony from his office. I think he actually had to go. I'll be providing a link here. I think recently the application for the Restaurant Revitalization Fund has opened. And so I'll provide a link in terms of who's qualified. Basically, are the brewers, restaurants that were impacted by COVID. This is an opportunity for them to apply for this grant. They did a pilot for this earlier and that went well. So now we're opening it to all the different businesses. So I will provide more updates, and if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us directly.
Great, thank you so much. Now I'd like to call on one of our community leaders, Sally Wong Avery, who'd like to ask a question.
Oh, yes. You know, we are talking a lot about letting our community know where to seek for help and how to report a hate crime. As you know, a lot of the hate crime are against the Chinese because of the Trump, who said this is a China Kung Fu flu or whatever it is. A lot of our community members cannot read English or speak English. So I was wondering if you have any flyers to hand out to the people. Can we translate it into Chinese? And I'm sure there are a lot of Korean, or maybe some Japanese, maybe some Filipinos and others. Can we have those translated in all the different languages so we can give it out to our community?
From the DA's office, that we use a translation service, it's true, Sally, that can adapt to all of the languages. But I think your point about knowing about it in the first place and using the different magazines and the different publications in the different languages so that they know where to go and how to report. And I think that's really an important point, and be happy to work with you and the community on getting that done. Yes. We definitely have crime prevention funds. A lot of our office new mission focuses on prosecution, ethical prosecution, but the prevention of harm is very important. So I will reach out to you and see what we can do in that regard. Great idea.
Thank you. I think, can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Oh, Abraham. I'm sure Abraham knows that the Vietnamese community, you know, they look a lot like Chinese. They should be available for, especially in the newspaper, their own language, so that they know exactly what to do if they happen to be victims of any of this hatred crime.
Thank you, Sally. May I have this opportunity to express my appreciation to the city leaders, county DA office, Congressman Scott Peter, and Supervisor Lawson Rimmer. We are all here to speak up not only for the API, but for everyone in San Diego. On behalf of my community, I'd like to share you some information. Today is my 40 years in San Diego. I love San Diego. San Diego is a great city. So we need to continue to keep the city as the American finest. Talking about the city budget, I understand during the pandemic, people might be stop everything. Now we are ready to So everything should be considered as resources and services. The city need to invest something. Say, for example, I understand that Council Chris Kate indicated that the police department, they will something. Well, that should be the city belief, but as a citizen and as a community leaders, I believe that the city council members and the mayor should look around for something else and helping, because crime prevention, protection for the citizen, elderly who get out in the evening not feel safe. How we protect them since we cut the money? Number two, due to the language and cultural, they are afraid to report to the police department because they don't want to create any problem with the fear of retaliation. Therefore, the multicultural office is the one is a model in our city in the last 20 years. They have a very good job. They and City Council Chris Kate have a community walk to make sure that the business owner, they are safe. And now we need to concentrate into language. For example, the Vietnamese victimize themselves. They're afraid to report. But we do have the police department concerned, and they provide the PSO, the police service officers who pay for the service and who serve the elderly, speaking in Vietnamese. Our people, our culture, they prefer to talk to someone who speaks the same language. That is a very, very important key issue that we should pay attention. We use the Vietnamese paper. We use the Vietnamese network like TV, radio, station in Vietnamese. We try to reach out the citizens who speak Vietnamese, especially elderly, out and speak, raise the voice. However, that is a limitation due to their educational. So therefore, I'd like to have this opportunity since Captain Rudy Tai, he had been involved with the community many years. He knew the situation. And I wish for next time, the San Diego Police Department need to have at least the API citizenship to understand our cultural and to provide a good service for everyone who in the community. So in related to the language barrier, we try to do our best, but we cannot do enough since we cannot do the report. We are not a professional officer. People who call me and say, Abraham, I have a problem. I have to refer to the PD. And the PD cannot do as soon as possible because they don't have the personnel who speak language as Vietnamese. So we like to have the city to have more attention to make sure that we have immediately as a police officer, because there are too many cases happen as the hate crime in City High, in Mira Mesa, in Linda Vista, but people cannot report as soon as possible, as much as we expect it to happen. My advice to the city, please respond as soon as possible. Allow Chief Nislight to hire one police officer, I'm sorry, the PSO, police service officer who speak Vietnamese. So due to the community, we are working together. And I really emphasize that we should not cut the funding from the police department. Since we have a lot of hate crime, we need to protect the citizen. How can we protect the citizen and reopen the city with many, many events will be happen due to lack of the money, pay for gasoline, pay more personnel, and the equity training for the police officer.
Abraham, thank you. Thank you so much, Abraham. We really appreciate your sentiment, and I think we hear you loud and clear. We are running up against time right now, so we want to take a look at some of the next steps moving forward. And I think just a few thoughts that you might have, and we turn to our guest, District Attorney Summer Stephan. Where do you see our future, our next steps, how we move forward with the AAPI community?
Well, I think this meeting was a great meeting. I've taken a lot away from your thoughts, and certainly I'm committing to expand our outreach in the languages that are needed. We'll put some concerted effort, not just in once people reach us to address their issue, but before they reach us to be able to let them know what their rights are, what they can do, how it works. So I will be working on that promptly. We will continue to invest in our hate crimes accountability and prosecution. It is, I sense and feel and know the fear, and that shouldn't be there. You can't live free in the face of violence. And fear is something that really debilitates safety, because safety is not just about the numbers, it's about how people feel. And this community should not feel this way. So we will continue to work hard with all of law enforcement to address that. So thank you for this opportunity to hear you.
Thank you so much, District Attorney Stephan, for being here and your help. And I want to turn it over to Mitz to close out our session here.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really like a family reunion, because we have seen each other for almost a year now, but not in person. So hopefully, we would like to do is a follow-up, because we cannot just get together once and we have all this issue and then disappear. We have to be consistent in our demands for change, or for anything that we would like from our elected officials, for those who can make decisions. So I would like to suggest that perhaps in October, we should get back together and see where we're at on some of the issues that we discussed today. And so APAC perhaps can have another event, which is probably our yearly event before the pandemic, which is the Night of the Round Table, for which we have invited people, and then we will discuss the issue, whether we are moving forward or we're moving backward. So I think it is important that there should be a follow through. Otherwise, this getting together is just not, it's not going to be effective if we don't come back and make our elected officials aware that we are there for them, and we need to continue to be involved and visible. We are resilient, very, very strong community. So we cannot instill fear to our elders that they cannot go out, knowing that, we fight and we survive, and we should be able to be visible rather than be isolated. So that's my suggestion is, let's get back together and let's continue to be in touch with each other. And again, thank you. I feel so honored to work with you in so many, many years. And we are still here because we care. And I thank you very much, and I'm honored.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this great town hall.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful May celebrating Asian Pacific American heritage.
And be safe.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Thank you. You take care.
Good night, everybody.